Today we'll report on the troubling news coming out of Formula One involving next year's rookie, and NASCAR is not returning back to Auto Club Speedway in 2021. What's going to happen in 2022? Plus, Brett Winningham from Speedway Digest joins us to discuss Media 101 right here on Grid Tonight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish.net, and with me, as always, Joe Samniego. If you have any questions throughout the course of the program, feel free to ask in the comment section below, and we'll try our very best to answer your questions. And we do have a special guest on tonight during our program, Brett Winningham from Speedway Digest, with a little Media 101 for aspiring motorsports journalists out there. First, let's start off with a very troubling story that came to light last night involving a soon-to-be Formula One driver. So last night, a video from new Haas F1 driver Nikita Mazepin's Instagram story shows him riding in a car in a passenger seat. Then Mazepin turned to a woman sitting in the back seat, and then he placed his hand on her breast in such an inappropriate manner. The video was deleted from his Instagram, but not before people saw it, saved the video, and it began circulating all over the internet. Many fans were tagging Nikita, Haas F1, and even the FIA. They were very upset, and rightfully so. So, Joe, how concerning was this video to see Nikita's actions, and how would Haas, Formula One, or the FIA respond?
It is very troubling. Essentially, this video, what Nikita did, without doubt, is an act of sexual assault. Any unwelcome, non-consensual sex act, including when the victim lacks the capacity to consent, is considered sexual assault. It really sends the wrong message, and it just really troublesome that he posted this on social media. Anytime a driver posts anything on social media, it's like they're acknowledging, they're endorsing. When a driver goes out there, posts something about this particular brand, this particular event, for him to post this is just absolutely horrible, horrendous behavior. No F1 driver should be posting anything like this online. And because it just really sends a wrong message that essentially women are less than men. It's just horrible. We've said it time and time again. A race car driver represents all the various sponsors on his fire suit, on her social media page. Whenever the race car driver, whether it's a male, female, transgender racer, they are representing their sponsors, their team on and off the track. People look up to them, and people are seeing this from Nikita. Haas, FIA, they need to seriously have a big discussion with Nikita. This doesn't reflect well on the sponsors, the FIA, and Formula One, especially with the We Race as One campaign. Nikita needs to learn that he is on the big stage right now, the pinnacle of all sports, especially motorsports. Now, Nikita did release a statement and apologize for his actions. Haas made a statement condemning it, and they will handle it internally. In my opinion, if any NASCAR Cup Series driver did this, they're gone. However, I'm concerned that Nikita's personal funds may alter the decision from Haas, and I hope to be wrong.
Speaking of personal funds, Pedro Piquet made an interesting post on Instagram himself. Piquet announced that he won't be returning to Formula 2 next year, and he talked about the last 3 years being a very eye-opening experience in terms of understanding the business side of the sport. And he mentioned how 2019 Formula 2 champion Nick DeVries didn't get a chance to enter Formula 1, but instead joined Formula E with Mercedes. Then Piquet brought up the point of the 2019 F2 runner-up entering Formula 1 instead, in reference to Williams driver Nicholas Latifi, and brought up the fact that you do extremely well, that you want to do extremely well in Formula 2 with the sights of getting into F1, and then sometimes you will have a wonderful season in Formula 2. then it's all for nothing because someone comes in and buys the seat that was meant for you, watering down all of your hard work and investment. And heading into 2021, we know Haas F1 needed to add extra funding. That's something that Nikita Mazepin can provide. His father Dmitry Mazepin is a billionaire chairman of a chemical company in Moscow, Russia. Going back to a point made by Pedro Piquet, Nikita Mazepin finished fifth in the final 2020 Formula 2 standings, but he's getting a Formula 1 drive with all the backing that he's bringing to Haas, and the championship runner-up Callum Ilott did not get a drive. Many thought Ilott would be going to Haas alongside Mick Schumacher, but they decided to turn to Mazepin instead. Ironically, Mazepin received a race ban several years ago in Formula 3 because he punched Callum Ilott in the face. In addition, most recently, Mazepin received criticism online last month for making a joke about the global pandemic, wishing COVID a happy birthday. Then got more backlash last weekend at Bahrain for racing his rivals very aggressively, which ranged from almost running them off the track to almost squeezing someone into the pit straight wall. Usually, when incidents like this pile up, along with an even more serious incident like the groping video, an individual's job is put into question. If Nikita continues to rub everyone the wrong way, could his standing in motor racing be put into jeopardy? And do you think the latest incident should lead to Haas conducting a review of whether or not he should even join the team next season?
Nikita's motorsports career is already in jeopardy, and termination is a very real course of action Haas can do. Haas does not need this publicity. Nikita's actions are jeopardizing Haas's ability to earn sponsors, make business deals, expand their reach to new fans. And this is also going to affect his new teammate, Mick Schumacher. They don't want to be associated with this story. And he'd done this before he even stepped foot on the F1 grid as a Haas F1 driver. This is just the latest of troublesome behavior we have seen from Nikita and on off the track. So I do see his career already before the first F1 start is already in jeopardy.
Yeah, and I did mention all of the things that he's done in recent years, and especially recently. It's just been piling up lately with all of the stuff that he's done. You know, going all the way back to wishing COVID a happy birthday. It's like this is a situation where you need to read the room there. That was not funny at all, obviously. And then the video that come out last night. Nikita definitely needs a wake up call and intervention. Somebody needs to someone needs to teach him that this type of behavior is not okay, because if he keeps this up, he's not going to be a Formula One driver or a driver anywhere for long, because team owners will not put up with this. Even if you do have a bunch of funding that you can bring to an organization to help them improve their program, at some point they don't want to take that PR hit and keep you. And Haas F1 definitely took a major PR hit by Nikita posting this video to his Instagram story. And the crazy thing is, Nikita's not even a Formula One driver yet. He's going to be driving for them. Well, at the moment in 2021, it's still 2020, and it's just wild to me that Nikita is already causing his future F1 team Haas so much trouble already, and he hasn't even started the 2021 season yet. So it's definitely not a good look for Nikita Mazepin. This is a very troubling story, and if Nikita was to keep his seat, is there a way that he could prove that he has changed his behavior?
That's going to be very hard to convince everyone that he has changed. A good example, let's look at when Kyle Larson, what happened in Monza Madness, came out with a video apology. He then went to learn and change his attitude, what he had learned prior to everything that occurred leading up to Monza Madness. Still, some will never forgive Kyle Larson for that night. And Kyle Larson has said, rightfully so. Something like that, for some people, he can never get over. When Nikita did, he needs to realize there's going to be some people that are never going to be supporting his career. They're going to believe he never belongs in Formula One in the first place. His text apology Being caught essentially doesn't carry any weight right now. Nikita needs to demonstrate what he did was wrong, how he has changed, and use his platform to essentially denounce sexual assault and harassment going forward, because people will be following him more next year if he is a Formula One driver and could really use his platform then to say, I made a serious mistake. I've learned, I'm changed, and I want others to not do the same thing I did.
Yeah, he could definitely try to use this platform to bring awareness to this situation and show people what he's learned. I feel like that would be the best way for him to try to redeem himself if he's going to keep his seat at Haas. But I know, but even if he did try to work hard and change, there's still going to be a lot of people out there who won't forgive him at all, and rightfully so. Yeah, and Nikita right now he's in the headlines for all the wrong reasons, and it's just really just a laundry list of things right now. Like I mentioned, the COVID stuff, and then back several years ago, punched Callum Ilott in the face, and his aggressive driving at Bahrain last weekend, which was really crazy. So, and really he really drew the ire of a lot of people for his driving. And now this situation, it seems like if he doesn't change now, it's just going to continue to go downhill for Nikita Mazepin. And the woman who was groped by Mazepin in the video did release a statement of her own on Instagram. She said that her and Nikita have been good friends for a long time, and claimed that nothing in the video was serious at all. She emphasized that her and Nikita trust each other, and everything we saw in the video was just their silly way of joking. She took full responsibility for posting the video on Nikita's Instagram story, then ended her response by saying that Nikita is a good person, and he would never do anything to hurt or humiliate her. Joe, the woman in the video, said the incident was simply two friends joking with each other. Did you find anything funny about that? Because I certainly didn't.
No, this in fact contributes to the larger problem of unreported sexual assault and harassment. Usually, victims are reluctant to report or come out because they fear the negative backlash. Quite often, when it comes to victims, it starts with a trusted friend, sadly, a family member, somebody that they trust, and they thought, oh, he was just joking, just messing around. He's a good guy. This story is going to really be painful for victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault. If F1 and Haas just brush this off, it sends a wrong message to all the women who are following this story, who follow Formula One. Essentially, it's saying the sponsorship money is more important than gender equality. That men have a more influential voice than women in Formula One. That is not welcoming. And this is all the day after the W Series confirmed date with Formula One. Nikita does this. This is just puts Formula One in a really bad spot, and it's just incredibly hard story to report on.
Yeah, yeah, Nikita definitely put Formula One at bad spot, and it's an extremely hard story for us to talk about. It's real unfortunate that that Nikita decided to do this to that woman, and it was just even really dumber to post that on social media for the entire world to see. I just don't understand it. It's very obvious that Nikita Mazepin has a lot of growing up to do. And once again, Joe, we've talked about this before. The Formula One initiative we races won is put into question once again, especially if Nikita is not seriously punished by this. And also, our friends at Racers, the girls behind the helmet, the nice folks we work with for Grit Girls, said it best in a statement of their own. Episodes like today is why we do what we do, and why there's a need to highlight women's achievements in our sport. Much still needs to be done to wipe away sexism in society, and we should all work harder together to promote motorsport as a fully inclusive work environment. Well said by racers, the girls behind the helmet. And we'll report on any additional updates to this story on Grid Live pre-race Saturday. Also, we do have an episode of sexual harassment in motorsports. And with that said, there is absolutely no place in motorsports for sexual harassment.
No place in motorsports. Everyone deserves to come enjoy the love of racing together as a community. That has always been one of the things we've wanted to share our love of racing with everybody. And everyone should feel welcome and safe as part of that community. One of the big things going to another news story is regarding NASCAR. NASCAR announced its first change of the 2021 NASCAR Cup season schedule. Auto Club Speedway will not host the third round of 2021 NASCAR Cup Series. Homestead Miami will move to fill the third round of the Cup Series, replacing the void with Miami moving to the third race. The Daytona Road-Course will become the second round of the NASCAR Cup Series 2021 schedule. Auto Club will not host a race at all in 2021. In fact, they're still moving ahead with the planned reconfiguration to a short track. Plans to have NASCAR return to California in 2022 on the big 2-mile oval per Adam Stern. Of course, everything is still up in the air with the COVID-19 situation and California's strict restrictions, which caused this change for the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Kobe, was this the right call to make so early on in the offseason?
To be honest with you, Joe, I was really surprised that they made the call so early on, considering we still have a ways to go until we would have gotten to Auto Club Speedway weekend. But with the way the pandemic is going, they're predicting this pandemic to get even worse heading into mid to late January, and then we got February up next, and with this pandemic, things can change fast. But it's really looking like the situation is going to get worse as we head deeper into the winter before we get to the warmer months in the spring. So I think NASCAR had to. I really didn't. I don't envy these people who have to make these tough decisions, because I'm sure it was a tough call to decide to cancel the race until 2022 at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana. But given what they're saying about the pandemic and California's restrictions and the uncertainty about the future, NASCAR probably thought that it was in their best interest to make this call sooner rather than later. And I have a feeling, just like 2020, in 2021, we're going to have a lot of contingency plans in place.
Contingency plans. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me considering the circumstances around the pandemic. We knew there was a good chance 2022 will be affected with this pandemic. Auto Club is so early on to be the third round, essentially after the original plan of Daytona, Miami. Now it's going to be the Daytona 500, Daytona Road-Course, and Miami, which would have been the third round, where should be California. Now, of course, plans to have essentially California no longer in the schedule brings the Cup Series schedule to now 7 road courses. However, Sonoma is still scheduled to take place on June 6th. Last year, Sonoma did not host a race due to the pandemic. Do you believe SMI and NASCAR have plans in case Sonoma is unable to hold an event due to pandemic restrictions?
Yes, I'm sure they've been working really hard behind the scenes to come up with a contingency plan, like I mentioned, in case they're unable to hold a race in Sonoma. And we're hoping by the summer months, when it's a lot warmer, that and when more people are starting to get vaccinated, hopefully the situation can start to improve. Maybe by then we're able to race in Sonoma. But as we know, a lot of unpredictability and uncertainty in the world right now, especially here at home in the United States, is definitely in NASCAR's best interest to have a plan B, a plan C, probably, and a plan D as well, because anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and you do bring up a good point. With that later date, there could be the possibility maybe NASCAR could run at Sonoma, but without the fans, depending on how everything goes in the state of California. And of course, besides California, we know New York didn't have any NASCAR races this year with Watkins Glen not hosting it due to the pandemic. I feel it's safe to say probably NASCAR has a contingency plan for just about every track, depending on how everything turns out. With that said, of course, now 7 road courses. Big thing, Chase Elliott, he won last year at the Daytona Road-Course. He is the defending champion, coming off a third place finish at the Snowball Derby. With the momentum he has, does a road course so early in the season, the second race of the year, make him the big favorite for the Daytona Road-Course?
Definitely, I think Chase Elliott is the best and most talented road course racing driver in the NASCAR Cup Series right now, and we saw what he went out and did at the Daytona Road Course, and also at the Charlotte Roll as well. And Watkins Glen is supposed to be returning in 2021. We'll have to wait and see there. And this is like, wow, that's 3 road courses right there. They Chase Elliott's already won at. And then we have the other road courses to tackle. So it would not surprise me if we see Chase Elliott win a lot of road course races, and imagine if Chase Elliott was able to sweep all the road courses and get 7 out of 7. That would be insane.
That would be insane. And I do see the Daytona 500. It's a restrictor plate race, very unpredictable. Quite often, surprise winner. To go in the road course, Chase Elliott, to secure his spot in the playoffs in the second round at a road course where he's really good at, that's just going to make it really hard. I could see him easily being a favorite to repeat as the NASCAR Cup Series championship. Those road courses, he's going to be really hard to beat. He's going to get those wins very likely and have a big playoff cushion to advance. He still needs to get wins in the playoffs. We saw what happened with Kevin Harvick this year, but he's definitely has to be an early on favorite. Now, of course, California currently under strict restrictions due to the pandemic situation. Along with NASCAR, IndyCar has 2 events in the Golden State. Weathertech Raceway, Laguna Seca, that'll be in the fall of 2021. And of course, the Long Beach Grand Prix, spring of 2021. Is Long Beach potentially at risk of not happening again?
Yeah, definitely. Long Beach is definitely at risk of not happening, but at the moment, Long Beach for IndyCar and IMSA is still on for right now, and hopefully by fall 2021, we're going to be in a much better place in terms of the pandemic. So the race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca can take place without any issues at all. But considering the restrictions in California and the uncertain future, like I mentioned, I'm a little worried about Long Beach because it's a street course, and then WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is a regular road course. So I guess they could definitely run that one behind closed doors, but the street course, I'm sure they'll definitely need fan income for that one, and I do think that Long Beach could definitely be at risk since it's going to be in the springtime.
Long Beach has definitely going to be, I think, a big event that could be at risk of not occurring. Street course is going to be asking a lot to say, okay, we got this big race going through downtown Long Beach, but the public's not allowed. Try to keep the public away. I think that's going to be a really hard ask. And this way things are looking, I don't see that happening this year, which is very unfortunate. It's one of the big events for IndyCar. Now, of course, we'll be following the situation with this story with NASCAR, of course, with IndyCar, the Long Beach Grand Prix. Definitely want to encourage everyone to be sure to subscribe to Grid Network, especially on Twitter. We're at Grid Ranking, of course, Grid_WML, and our YouTube channel.
For this week's Grid Tonight, we want to talk a little bit about motorsports journalism on social media. I've seen a good amount of young people wanting to get into the motorsports industry, and when I was a 16-year-old myself, I knew that I wanted to pursue motorsports journalism. However, I had a lot of questions, and nobody had all the answers that I was looking for. And I'm sure there's some out there in the same boat that I was in and many others. With that said, we have a special guest tonight who may have those answers that many young aspiring motorsports journalists seek. He's a motorsports journalist himself from Speedway Digest, and you might remember him from our very first episode of Life on the Grid. Please give a warm welcome to Brett Winningham. Brett, how are you doing tonight? And how excited are you to be back on Grit Network?
Oh, it's pretty awesome, and I'm really excited, and thank you for having me.
And I know for a fact that you're very knowledgeable in this area, so I'm sure that our viewers will enjoy listening to everything you have to say tonight. For starters, I want to go back to the final lap of the Daytona 500 and the aftermath. We all know about Ryan Newman's frightening crash. Waiting to hear about his condition felt like an eternity. In these situations, it's extremely important to wait for an official word when it's a serious situation. And we both know that it's better to be right than first to report the news. Trying to be first can be extremely dangerous here. When waiting for the news about Ryan Newman's conditions, I think the NASCAR media on site at Daytona did a magnificent job. As a whole, they waited for the updates to come from official sources and didn't try to break the news themselves. Well, there was actually one person who didn't make an ethical decision here. Without naming this individual, they posted an unconfirmed update on Newman's condition and faced plenty of backlash for this irresponsible decision. And for the young aspiring media members out there, why is it so important to let the official updates tell the story instead of trying to beat everyone else to the punch?
Well, I mean, you said it there in your question, I guess, but it's important to be accurate instead of first. We just can't say it enough. Report the news and not be the news. And when you try to get ahead, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be first. I mean, everyone wants to be first in this industry, but you have to be patient, let it play itself out, let the news come to you instead of just trying to chase it in that situation. So luckily that entire situation came out good, but there's some instances where that's not always the case. But yeah, just being accurate is more important. No one remembers who was first to report a story. In my career for about the last 7 years, I can't think of a time where someone said so and so reported so and so first. It was always the people who got it wrong, which has happened about 3 or 4 times. So just don't need to always be first.
Yeah, that's some great advice right there. And while we're on the subject of scary wrecks, we recently saw Formula One driver Roman Grosjean survive and escape a fiery crash, leaving him with a car split in half and burns on his hands. Another Formula One driver, Daniel Ricciardo, criticized the series for showing footage of Grosjean's crash over and over. Considering how serious it was, Ricciardo thought it was wrong for them to do this. For the most part, people think it's fine to show replays when we know for sure that a driver is all right. Thinking back to that awful day in October 2011, I'll never forget ABC showing the replays of Dan Weldon's fatal crash at Las Vegas Motor Speedway while we didn't even know his condition at the time. While I wasn't on social media in 2011, I'm not, I can't really say for sure how people felt about ABC's decision to show these replays. However, in today's age of social media, I think this decision from ABC would be very upsetting to a lot of people. And thinking back to last year when we lost Antoine Hubert in the Formula 2 race at Spa, I thought their broadcast team made a good call by avoiding showing the replays. But we do know the obligation to tell the story of what happened. Do you think Formula One made the right call to show the replay of Grosjean's crash since we knew that he survived?
Well, I mean, the same debate is always being shown in NASCAR. The Bubba Wallace crash going back to Pocono a year or two ago. Let's see here, the Ryan Newman crash. Everyone kind of got upset when NASCAR would show these in their commercials or whatnot like that. And whether it's right or wrong, there is an obligation to tell the story. And whether Formula One got it wrong or not, I don't know. I think I can't stress this enough. Well, I'm glad that he's okay after this crash, and it's just amazing some of these crashes that these drivers are able to walk away from and just can't think safety enough and the amount of effort that goes into these cars day in, day out to allow these drivers to walk away from these things. And unfortunately, there are some times where they don't. But, I think F1 should have probably not shown it as much, but as you said, there is also an obligation in there to tell the story.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. There's definitely an obligation to tell the story, and I do think they made the right call to show Grosjean's crash once they knew that he was going to be okay. But yeah, maybe they shouldn't have showed it over and over again. And I do think Daniel Ricciardo did have reason to be upset because that's one of his fellow competitors that he's out on the track with every single Formula One Grand Prix, and to see that type of stuff over and over, I can understand from his perspective of why it's really upsetting. And as we all know in NASCAR, we see crashes that are using promos all the time. A lot of people really don't like that, but in the commercials you see on TV, we keep seeing crashes being promoted. But going back to the Grosjean situation, I do think Formula One made the right call here. If it was a situation where Roman Grosjean was seriously injured and we didn't know his condition, then it would have been a good decision for them not to show it. And I think in this case, that's what made the difference here. And one final topic before we let you go tonight, Brett. There's something that happened recently that caught my attention. On Twitter, a young motorsports journalist trying to break into the industry used a photo from a photographer for one of his articles. While he did tag the photographer in the tweet, the photographer wasn't pleased with him and said all the young kid had to do was to ask for permission and he would have let him use the photo. NASCAR media site, as we know, definitely makes everything a lot easier. IndyCar media site as well. They provide photos for all motorsports journalists to use as long as you give the proper credit to the photographers. Then, when you get outside of the official media sites, it can get a little tricky when you don't know for sure if you can use a photo or not. And when I worked at the school paper my freshman year of college, I was writing an analysis piece and decided to use a photo from my race team's Facebook page. Of course, I gave credit to the team and turned it in to the editor of the sports section. And let me tell you this, the editor got really angry at me and told me that I could get sued if I wasn't careful. And I didn't really understand where I went wrong at the time, considering that I gave credit to the team. And I do know it can get confusing at times when you're unsure what to do. For those unsure about the process of giving proper credit and knowing when you can or can't use a photo, can you explain how it works and what can happen if you mess up this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, luckily for us, we're a little bit spoiled because we have NASCAR media, we have IndyCar media sites that supply them from Getty Images, I think. So, thankful for those. But, there are times where, you're writing a story and there's no photo available. Or, there's been times where I'm writing a story and I go to NASCARmedia.com and the photo of this driver on there, you can do a search and it may be from 2014. And so, you don't want to use a photo from 2014. And so you have to go other avenues of getting a photo. Now, there was actually an incident that came up around Daytona earlier this past February where an individual used an AP photo. That is absolutely a no-no. Anything from AP, you can't even use them if you do give proper credit. So I think Speedway Digest, we have a couple of deals with photographers who allow us to have access to their photo bank and we can pull from there. So, just my rule of thumb is if you know a photographer that posts them, the rule of thumb is always ask. If you don't ask, the answer is no. So that's kind of my rule of thumb as well as going on that. And what was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. The other part of the question is what can happen if you mess up here?
Yeah. So yeah, you don't want to mess up because one, as we discussed with this incident, they got called out, and I forgot the word I'm looking for here, but plagiarism is an absolute no-no in this industry, and if you're caught, it only takes one time for you to be done if you're caught. And so, especially if it's by a well-known photographer or a well-known journalist. So, you definitely have to be careful when pulling images from online and stuff. And, growing up, it wasn't something that I wasn't sure about or aware about enough as I should have been. Thankfully, I never had an issue with it. But yeah, it's definitely something that is no. And even with tweets, don't steal or screenshot a photo that you see on Twitter by a journalist and then use it as your own. I'm telling you, it's much easier to just retweet it or quote tweet it, add your own thing. Or if you really have to take an image from someone's Twitter, at the end of the tweet, put photo image via at in quotation, or not quotation marks, but parentheses, I think is what the actual term is. So, but yeah, just gotta be careful with it. And, if you don't ask, the answer is no, is my rule of thumb.
If you don't ask, the answer is no. I like that right there. And for that young motorsports journalist who's trying to break into the industry, I think the situation is going to work out best for him because the photographer, I know him, really nice guy, easygoing, and he was just said all you had to do was ask. And I think for this young kid, it's going to be a wonderful lesson for him. It's better that you make the mistake now while you're still learning and all of that, and while you're on the younger end, rather than growing your platform over the years, and then everyone said it, then it's gonna make you look really bad and potentially hurt you long term. So
Mhm.
so my advice to this kid is yeah, you made a mistake here, and hey, we're all human, and we make mistakes, and this is just something you can use for future reference. And next time you want to use a photo like this, now all you have to do is ask. And I think from now on he's gonna do that, and he'll never make this mistake again. And we know in journalism, you never make the same mistake twice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Brett, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. You shared some helpful information that aspiring motorsports journalists will appreciate. As always, you are welcome to our programs anytime you want.
Well, and I appreciate you for letting me come on here. It's something that I think I reached out to you like a month ago on. So, it's always cool getting to hang out here again. And hopefully sometime maybe around Daytona or some in February, I'll be able to come back on here and discuss some on-track activity. Like it's winter time right now. So there's like hardly any racing going on NASCAR wise. So, I'm definitely enjoying the off season. I love following Formula One when I can. I'm not that familiar with it, or the snowball derby, but just enjoying the off season right now, and I'm ready to go at Daytona and get back on track. It's starting to reach that point in the off season where 2 weeks go before the end of the year, or like 1 week to go before the end of the year. You're like, man, I really just want this to be over with. But then, once you get about a month into the off season, it's like, okay, now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get back at it. I'm ready for on-track action. And I think, 67 days until Daytona 500 or so. So, it's just going to be right around the corner once we get past Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, for us here at Grit Network, to be honest with you, Brett, we haven't had an off season at all. We've been rolling with our programs every single week since the NASCAR finale at Phoenix in early November, and we're still going to be rolling these next several weeks. Probably going to get a little time off, around the Christmas holiday and the New Year's. Then we got Formula E, I believe, in mid January in the Rolex 24. So yeah, so basically it's not an off season for us at Grit Network. We've just been rolling straight through the off season, producing content that hopefully our viewers are truly enjoying. And we want to remind you all to Be sure to follow Brett on Twitter at NASCAR_Brett and Speedway Digest at Speedway Digest. Also, check out Brett's episode of Life on the Grid, which can be found in the video description.
Definitely some great stuff there from Brett, and definitely encourage anyone thinking about entering journalism, especially motorsport journalism. Every time we're on the air, you see Kobe, myself, our Twitter handle, of course, Grid Ranking. Definitely encourage everyone because it's a big community and we'll enjoy seeing more people join that community. Now, one of the big news that came out this week as well, too, the W Series. The 2021 schedule has been announced and is set to kick off June 26th at Le Cassette, France, following Formula One as well to these tracks: Austria, the A1 circuit, Red Bull Ring; Silverstone, home of the British Grand Prix, the Hungarian Ring; Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium; the Netherlands, of course, that's going to be Max Verstappen's home race; and then the United States, Circuits of America, and Mexico City for the same weekend as the Mexican City Grand Prix for Formula One. Kobe, how impressive is this list?
I'm going to repeat the tracks you just announced: Le Castellet in France, Austria, the Red Bull Ring, Silverstone, the Hungary Ring, Spa-Francorchamps, the Netherlands, the United States, the Circuit of the Americas, Mexico City. Those are all wonderful tracks, and I definitely think with the W Series being at those tracks in front of a larger audience, I think that's only going to help the series grow even more. And I think it's extremely important that they formed a partnership with Formula One. And this is also going to help the initiative with Formula One that we race as one, that we're going to allow the W Series to share our platform, and we're going to help bring awareness to the W Series. So I think it's a really wonderful partnership that's going to help out Formula One and especially the W Series as the series
It
continues
is
to grow.
definitely a big boost for the W Series, for all the women that race there, and then for all the fans. I know definitely when it comes to people talk about female race car drivers, there's very few women they can name. To see the W Series on the same racetrack race weekend as Formula One, same television as well, this is just going to be huge to make names like Jamie Chadwick, Vicky Perea, all of them. It's just become more bigger household names where people talk about them a lot more. Now, of course, W Series, you're going to be racing next year. This year, no racing due to the pandemic, but definitely really excited for next year with 2021 with Formula One. Definitely a big step forward, especially in the United States. How big is it to have W Series racing in front of American audience on television and on American soil?
Oh, Joe, it's a big deal having W Series, as I mentioned, sharing the platform of Formula One, and Americans been able to watch it as well. Yeah, we know the W Series is very young right now, and it's just going to continue growing. And I see this as a wonderful opportunity to all of the women racing in the W Series, because they're gonna be racing in front of the eyes of all these major Formula One teams and programs. And let's just speak hypothetically for a second. Let's say Lewis Hamilton has some downtime and he's going to check out the W Series race at, let's say, Spa, for example. And if he sees one racer that he's really impressed by, then he goes to Toto Wolff and says, Toto, I really like Jamie Chadwick. She's a very talented driver. So I think we should try to get her in our driver development program. And when you have people like that watching you on a much larger platform, and if you do something extremely impressive on the track, you might just walk yourself into one of these Formula One teams' driver development programs. So I definitely think there's a huge benefit to the W Series racing in front of a larger audience, and having those teams as well. And it's also similar to when the ARCA Menard Series is at the same track as the NASCAR Cup Series. And those young drivers, they're able to race in front of those larger teams in the Cup Series, and those teams have some driver development programs of their own. And when they're able to be at the same racetrack as the big series, that they're able to put their name out there, especially as I mentioned, if you do something spectacular on track. And I feel the same way about the W Series. racing at the same tracks as Formula One.
You bring up a really good point. Having the Formula One teams there, the drivers, the team checking it out. Driver goes out there, does something to get their attention, get part of the driver development program. The W Series, that's a big win. The W Series, of course, was created to give women racers the opportunity to race and be recognized. Of course, too often, especially we talked about a little bit early on, it comes to drivers with the personal back end, personal funding, sponsorship deals. The W Series, it makes it where we have an environment where the sole attention is on these women racers, showing what they're capable of doing and earning opportunities in higher motorsports, where it's Formula One, Formula E. Definitely this will be great for Formula E. And then, of course, open wheels in America, IndyCar. This is going to be really huge, and especially for the American sponsors, when they catch wind of the W Series and see the racing, I see this being potential for the drivers to earn more sponsorship opportunities and really advance women racing all over the world now. 2021, we will be previewing and reviewing W Series events on Grid Live pre-race and post-race. Thursday, tomorrow, we'll go more into the big news on Grid Girls, the women racing to win. Be sure to subscribe and not miss any Grid Network programming right here. Now it's time for some quick take news.
Kyle Busch Motorsports has completely revamped its driver lineup in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. It was already announced previously that Rafael Lessard will leave KBM's number 4 for GMS Racing, with John Hunter Nemechek replacing him. And it was just announced that Chandler Smith will replace Christian Eckes in the number 18 Toyota Tundra full-time in 2021. In a statement, Eckes thanked everybody at KBM for his time with the organization and said that he's ready to open up the next chapter and he's excited for the future.
Racer Magazine reported that Santino Ferrucci, currently in the IndyCar series, could potentially run 20 NASCAR Xfinity races with our motorsports. The team is already running one full-time car with Brett Moffitt. Santino's car would be a part-time entry. We know Santino has been exploring his options in NASCAR since his situation with IndyCar is uncertain, with him unlikely to return to Dale Coyne Racing.
Magnus Racing will be returning to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championships GTD class in 2021, but with a different manufacturer. Magnus is switching from Lamborghini to Acura, forming a partnership with Archangel Motorsports. The familiar duo of Andy Lally and John Potter returns, as they'll share the number 44 Acura NSX GT3.
Alex Peroni is coming to Indy Lights. Australian racer Alex Peroni is planning to leave his European open wheel racing career behind and come to the United States. The Formula 3 racer is trying to raise $100,000 to race in Indy Lights next year. At the moment, as of this live broadcast, Peroni has raised $30,000.
3 American open wheel racers are getting an opportunity to test this week at Daytona. Marshall Port from Raceway.com reports that Zach Veach and Robert McGinnis will test the Vassar Sullivan Racing Lexus GTD car. Since splitting with AIM Motorsport, Vassar Sullivan is now in control of the Lexus GTD program. Veach and McGinnis will get to show the team why they should be a part of the driver lineup next year. In addition, Oliver Askew is testing with Riley Motorsports' LMP3 team. After being let go by Arrow McLaren SP in IndyCar, Askew is looking to reset his racing career in sports cars. While he would love to race in IndyCar again, he'll be focusing on IMSA for now.
Colton Herta in 2021 will have a new sponsor and a new number in IndyCar. Herta will switch from the number 88 to the number 26 Honda with sponsorship from Gainbridge. It was a little surprising because many thought that seat would go to James Hinchcliffe.
Jesse Little will not return to JD Motorsports in 2021 because he'll be joining BJ McLeod Motorsports instead for the full NASCAR Xfinity Series season, driving a number 78 Chevrolet Camaro. While some might be questioning this move, Jesse said his goal is to surprise everyone right out of the gate with his new team.
Two-time Indianapolis 500 champion Juan Pablo Montoya will return to the greatest spectacle in racing for the first time since 2017. He'll be joining Errol McLaren SP's third entry for the Indy 500 along Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenqvist. Montoya and McLaren reunite for the first time since 2006 United States Formula One Grand Prix at, ironically, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Juan Pablo Montoya definitely has a diverse schedule. Of course, he'll be full season at the FIA World Endurance Championship with Dragon Speed in LMP2, IMSA endurance events with Meyer Shank Racing and DPI. He is also helping his son with his racing career, Sebastian Montoya, and now a drive at the Indianapolis 500. That is definitely big news. Fans always will recognize the Juan Pablo Montoya name, and they're going to be really excited to see him at the Indianapolis 500. We're also very excited for this big moment. We want to welcome Poblis. It is a dog clothing and accessory company from Austria. 10% of each person in Poblis will go straight to charity, helping tens of thousands of sick and homeless dogs. Poblis, of course, has clothing and accessories for all dogs of all different sizes. The main mission of Poblis is to enhance and preserve the quality of dogs' life by providing a better environment on work, ensuring the life-saving medical treatment to preserve the lives of our furry friends, and definitely for all our viewers as well too. On the link below, there is a link to Poblis. You get a 10% discount for being a Grid Network viewer. Definitely, we all care about our furry friends. Check out their website. We're excited to welcome them to part of the Grid Network team, and definitely click on that link below, save 10%, and help. Of course, there's always dogs there that could be adopted, rescue dog, including our own Grid Network office dog, Kiska. I know a couple times you may have heard Kiska behind the background. She's a rescue dog out of rural Alaska, loves auto race, and definitely been enjoyed to have with us. And definitely we encourage everyone, check out Poblis. The link is in the video description, as I mentioned. We're very excited to be working with it. And of course, you will receive a 10% discount. Definitely wanted to share that with all our viewers there, and you'll be seeing a lot more of them in the future.
Yeah, we're definitely excited about the partnership with Poblis. And we want to thank you for watching tonight. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Take a look at our Patreon page. Shout out to Colin. Really appreciate you, Colin, for supporting us for several months now. And we definitely want you all to consider investing in Grit Network as we continue to grow our program. Tomorrow, be sure to tune in for Grit Girls. Saturday, Grit Live pre-race at noon Eastern. And Sunday, Grit Live post-race, also at noon Eastern with special guest Matt White from the Grit World Motorsport League. For Joe Samniego, I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish.net. I hope you all have a wonderful night.